What's going on, you guys? It's KP here, bringing you another boxing prediction, and today I'll finally get around to doing my Canelo versus Trout prediction video. This is a terrific fight. I am very surprised it got made. I'm sorry, by the way, that I haven't been putting up a lot of videos lately. I meant to do a Rigondeaux versus Donaire prediction. I'm not trying to sound like I know it all, but if I would have made that video, I would have predicted Rigondeaux by a decision, 8-4. He actually wound up doing a little better than that. I scored the fight 10 rounds to 2 for Rigo. But, you know, you can believe me if you want. I have a video called Top 5 Fights I'd Like to See, and Rigo and Donaire was one of those fights. If you want to, go watch that video, and I do actually say if that fight ever happened, I would pick Rigondeaux. So there, you can take what you will. So that was an upset. I predicted that, and I'm going to go with the upset here, guys. I'm going to pick Austin Trout. I think he's like a 4-1 underdog, which is ridiculous. This fight is a pick'em fight. I've been back and forth on this fight for weeks. At first I was like, you know, Trout will get it. Then I was sitting there and I was like, man, Canelo, he may wear him out to the body and stop him late, but I've finally came down to my conclusion. I think it's going to be a close fight. I think it could be a 7-5 fight. I think you may even see a split decision in this. But I'm going to go with Trout. And let me go ahead and break this down so you guys don't think I'm just trying to get on the Trout bandwagon and pick the upset and yada yada yada. Canelo has a lot of strengths to him. He has a great left hook. Great left hand. He has a great left uppercut, a good solid jab, but I don't think he has an elite right hand. I don't think his straight right hand is a kill you kind of punch. His left hook definitely is. He's kind of like a De La Hoya and a Cotto, where his right hand is kind of secondary to that big left hook. And he has a great body attack. He puts his hooks together very well, puts combinations together very well, and can defend well at times. But he has a problem when he gets into a firefight of not being able to defend and attack simultaneously. Like, he can't do a Floyd Mayweather where he can roll off a shot, counter a shot, catch another shot, hit you with another shot, and just keep it going. He can land his shots and get hit, or he can not get hit and you not land your shots. He's not countering a lot. He's just either punching or defending, in my opinion. Now, you can call me out on that all you want, but go watch the Mosley fight. Go watch the Josecito Lopez fight. He didn't defend very well in those fights. He got hit a lot. Mosley's over the hill, and Josecito Lopez just doesn't have any power at 154. Austin Trout does. So we're going to see how Canelo does against someone his own size. I know I'm sounding like a hater here. I actually really like Canelo. I have him in my top 20 pound for pound at the time. I think he's a really good fighter, guys. He hasn't faced anyone near the level of Austin Trout. People will point to Shane Mosley and say he's an all-time great. He was. He's not in his prime anymore. He's not in his peak anymore. He is on a decline. He hasn't won a fight since like 2008. The last person I think he beat was Margarito. Then he lost. He beat Margarito. Then he lost to Mayweather. Then he had a draw with Sergio Mora. Then he lost to Pacquiao, and then he lost to Canelo. He doesn't win fights anymore, guys. And Josecito Lopez, he got that upset over Ortiz and broke his jaw, but he was losing that Ortiz fight. And a lot of people will say that the reason Ortiz's jaw broke was because of that shot Mayweather landed in their fight, the right hand. So, I mean, put what you will on Josecito Lopez. He's a solid fighter, but he is nowhere near an A-plus level fighter like Austin Trout. The same can be said for Trout. He really hasn't faced a whole lot of good competition. Delvin Rodriguez, okay. Miguel Cotto is, in my opinion, the best on each fighter's resume. Miguel Cotto is a terrific fighter. He's very experienced, and he still wins fights. He put up a good fight against Mayweather. He gave it his best. He put up a good fight against Trout. He didn't get outclassed by Trout. He kind of got outclassed by Mayweather, but he still put up a decent fight. Gave Mayweather the best fight he's had in years. And so Cotto's a pretty strong person to have on your resume, even at this point, especially at 154. Cotto is a very solid 154. So Trout, let me break down Trout. Went over Canelo. Good jab, good left hand, good combinations, good body attack, not so good defense. I think Trout has the better jab of the two. I think he's a lot slicker than Canelo. I think on a speed kind of level, they're pretty even. On the power level, I'd have to give the power edge to Canelo. I think his punches are a little harder. But I think Trout may be slick enough to avoid most of his punches. If Canelo can get Trout pinned up on the ropes, he'll win the fight. I just don't see it happening. Cotto tried that strategy, and it just didn't happen. Trout would throw a right hook, circle out, or he would just circle out. And and he's got a good defense, guys. He's a very sharp counter puncher, good jab, decent left hand, and a pretty good right hook. His combinations aren't bad either. He's not a bad combination puncher. I think you could see some fireworks in this fight. I think you could see some good exchanges. But I think Canelo could wind up getting outclassed. I don't see it happening, but it could happen. He could just be against a guy that's too slick for him. It could be another Chavez Whitaker, where Whitaker was just way too slick for Chavez, even though that fight had a bullshit ending where it was a draw. There was no way that fight was a draw. Whitaker clearly beat Chavez, and I think you could see that here. A slick southpaw against a great come forward boxer puncher like Canelo. And I think that's what it's going to look like. I think it's going to look like Whitaker Chavez. Not saying Trout's as good as Whitaker, not saying Canelo's as good as Chavez. Just saying, I think that's kind of what this fight's going to look like. And so I'm going to go with the Whitaker in this case, who should have won. I'm going to go with Trout. I think he wins a decision. I think it could be something like 8 rounds to 4, 7 rounds to 5. I don't see a whitewash. I don't see a 10 rounds to 2 or a 9 rounds to 3 fight. I just don't see it. Canelo is too young. He's too good to not win some rounds. And he could win this fight, guys. I'm not saying that he has no chance. It's almost a 50-50 fight for me. It's a hard prediction for me to make, but I'm pretty confident. I'm pretty confident in Trout. On the flip side, I would kind of like Canelo to win it just because we could see him and Mayweather fight. I do not think Mayweather will fight Austin Trout. I'll go into that later. I just don't think he'll fight Austin Trout. Canelo is a more marketable fighter and has a bigger fan base, so Mayweather would more easily take a Canelo fight. He may still fight him if he loses, but I doubt it. So, non-biased, I'm picking Austin Trout by a relatively close decision. I think he'll start off well. Maybe Canelo will come on in the middle rounds, and then maybe Trout will kind of rally back and put his skills to use and start moving better and start getting his timing down and close out the fight well. I'm going to predict Austin Trout to win the fight, 8 rounds to 4. And let me know what you guys think. I'm going to try to get my Guerrero Mayweather video out, and maybe some more fights. I'll look into it and do some more predictions. Sorry I haven't been putting up a lot of videos lately, guys. I've just been real busy with school and work. And let me know what you guys think in the comments, and subscribe if you haven't. Peace.